Welcome to the Expedited project application tutorial. My name is Grady Hill. I'm going to walk you through this new application process with this Expedited project application step by step and highlight some of the new features with this application. But before we get started with that, I want to show you where you can access this application, and the answer to that is the same place that it has been for the past few years, but in case you don't know, we'll walk through where to find it. So this is the kipta.org main Kipta page. If you go over to the right here, you'll see drop downs. There's a transportation drop down, so you can hover over that and then scroll to the bottom, and then there is a transportation planning portal link. So you can click that link here. When it loads, you'll see the Kipta Transportation Planning Portal. There'll be a forms link. You can click on the forms link, and that will take you to the forms page. By the time you're looking at this video, this page will look slightly different. This Kipta project application icon will be removed, but there will be in its stead a full project application icon and an expedited project application icon. So you'll just click on the expedited project application icon, and that will take you to the expedited project application. And when you do that, it will look like this page here. This will be the first thing you see, just stating that this is to be submitted for minor project changes to an existing project to the MTP or tip. And if you have any questions, you can contact Chris Nicholas. The first question you're asked is, do your proposed project changes represent a substantive change in design concept, location, or scope? If the answer is yes, you'll get a warning. The application won't let you go any further, and it'll say, hey, this is the wrong application for these types of project changes. If you have to have substantive changes to your design concept, location, or scope, you're going to need to fill out the full project application, and this link will bring you right back to this forms page we were just at, so you can access it from that page. The reason that this is necessary is because if you have any of these major changes, that is a cue that we need to rescore the project in the MTP scoring model process for a future evaluation. And so you'll have to fill out the full project application. But if you don't have any of these substantive changes, then you can click no, and that leads you to the second question here. If your project location is not changing, then please draw a line anywhere in the map below. This question is a little bit of a necessary evil for Survey 123 to process the application correctly. The survey requires a geographical element to function properly, and it can't really be worked around. So we've organized this question in a way that involves a geographic element. But as notes here, the length and location of the line you draw is not important. Hence, also the base map is in the Pacific Ocean and Asia. It's supposed to be very clear. It doesn't matter what your line is or what shape it is or how long it is or anything like that. You can draw any line you want to, right? And that's fine. We're not looking for accuracy for this line or really meaning from this line other than just an indication that your project is not changing if there is indeed a line there. So you can just click on this icon and draw whatever shape or line you want here for that question. The project we're going to look at today is a Kentucky project. So I'll click the Kentucky icon, and it is the Blanton Lane project. And I forget what the Kipta ID for this project is. So I'm going to go use this link here. That is the fiscal year 2023 through 2026 tipped project listings link. That will give me all the information current as of the date on the page that I'll point out here. So this information is the current tip project information for all the phases up until it says September 8th right now. These links here will be updated monthly. And this is a Kentucky project, so I'll click the Kentucky tip projects, and it will give me an Excel sheet to download, which I have, and I'll open that up here. enable editing. And I'll put this over on the right so we can see the survey and this spreadsheet at the same time. So you can see the spreadsheet on the right here gives you a lot of good information. So you can look up KIPT IDs, state IDs, by sponsor agency, project name, project description, open to public date, justification, the phase and total project cost, cost amount programmed in the tip, the year of this construction phase, and then the funding amounts, federal, state, local, total, and then the type of federal funding category. So that's all the information you have access to. And you can use these drop downs to filter to find just the phases or projects that you're interested in. So in this case, I know it's the Blanton Lane project, so I'm going to look for that here. I use the drop down for project name, and I can deselect select all, so I can just select the ones that I want to see. And I see here, oh yep, Blanton Lane sidewalk. So I'll click on that. And I notice that the project name actually isn't Blanton Lane, it's Blanton Lane sidewalk. So let me update my application because I'm not intending to inform KIPTA that my project name is changing. I want to keep that the same, so I make it match this document. But I do find that the KIPTA ID for this Blanton Lane sidewalk is 2920. So I'll put that here. And we'll notice that there are a lot less. There's only 2 rows of information because we filtered for just the Blanton Lane sidewalk. And they're both 2920. These are 2 separate phases. So each row is a phase. And we filtered for just this project here for Louisville Metro. And there are no parent IDs and group IDs. If I want to double check to make sure, I can look. Oh, no, no parent IDs or group IDs. State ID number. I can look back if I don't know it and see that it's right here. So copy and paste that number right in there. So it's just in Jefferson County. And then this next question is a brief summary. In a brief summary, please describe your intended project changes. So this is just a brief listing, essentially, of what is this application for? What am I actually asking for to try to clarify for us at KIPTA what we should be looking to change. So I'm looking to, for this project, this hypothetical changes here, to increase the total project cost to $3.5 million. And I also need to add a construction phase. I need to increase the current TA, MPO, and construction amount to $1,992,500. I need to also shift the TA MPO construction phase year to fiscal year 26. And I need to shift the open to public date to fiscal year 26 as well. So these are all the changes I need to make. So I'm just a little summary there. Do I need to change my project description? I don't think so, but if I wanted to double check and make sure that nothing was changing here, I can look and see that this is the project description for the Blanton Lane sidewalk project. And so if nothing needs to change here, then I can click no and move on. If I did, then I can click yes, and there's a spot for me to make those changes. And I could copy this cell here, paste in the information, and use this as the basis to go forward. So if I only needed to change something here, then I could say that's an error, it's not continuous or something, and that's not a big deal, and I can make that change. But that's not the case. For this project, we're not making changes, so we'll click no, move on. Do project changes necessitate a change to your project justification? The answer, once again, is no. But same situation, I can find the current project justification if I wanted to check and look at that. Do your proposed project changes necessitate a change to your total project cost? Yes, that was one of the things that I wrote down as a summary amount. So my new adjusted total project cost is going to be 3.5 million dollars. My adjusted total project cost. My open to public clear also needs to change. And it's going to be shipped. The new one's going to be 2026. So I'm going to put in 2026. If I wanted to double check, once again, the current one is 25. Here you can see on the sheet on the right. So I want to move it to 26. And that's all for this page. So I'll click next. And then sponsor agency, this is Louisville Metro. So Louisville Metro project. Put in, I'll be the contact for this project, and I'll put in a random number here, my phone number, and I'll put in a random email here. Okay, that'll be my Louisville Metro email. Go to the next page, and then do your project changes include any funding changes? In this case, yes. So I'll click yes. Note that for funding phases, we will want to include all the funding phases starting from fiscal 2023 and beyond. So even if a funding change is nothing is changing about the phase, it's a 2023 design phase, I don't need anything to change there. I still am going to include it in this funding sheet, because if you don't include it, if you don't include a phase that's not changing, then we at KIPTA don't know if that's a phase you're deleting or if you're keeping it status quo. We're not sure. So we're going to assume anything that you don't include is going to be deleted. So include all your phases 2023 and beyond, even if they're not changing. Phase one, once again, if you want to look at your current phase information, you can look here. So this is for this first phase, we can look over to the right here. This first row is a phase. It is a right-of-way phase, and this phase doesn't need to change, but I'm still going to fill in the information. So this is a right-of-way phase. It is fiscal year 24, so I'll put that information in there. And the funding source is TA funds. So this is all alphabetical. So transportation alternatives, MPO. You can see on the right, this spreadsheet shows TA MPO for this row. Federal dollars here is 240,000. So I can type that in here. 240, 1, 2, 3, 240,000, and then 60,000 for the state and local, and then it will automatically calculate that total dollar amount. So that's not changing. So I'll go to the next one, phase two. And then phase two, I'm going to put my updated construction phase for TA funding that I mentioned earlier. You'll want to note here that for construction phases, they're separated by state because NDOT wants us to include construction engineering, and they have a little bit different abbreviations here. So if you're an Indiana project, you're only going to use either construction engineering CE Indiana only or construction CN Indiana only. If you're a Kentucky project, you don't need to do either of those. You can just do construction C Kentucky only. So this is a Kentucky project. So I'll choose this construction Kentucky only. This fiscal year is being moved to 2026, so I'll include 2026. Funding source is TA funding as well, so I'll scroll down. Transportation Alternatives MPO. And the federal dollars is changing. There's an increase, so I'm gonna say that the increase is 1,594,000 for the federal amount, and then for the state amount, that gives us 398,500. And that's all for phase 2. And then phase 3, we're adding a construction phase. Kentucky only. And it's also going to be the same year, so all the construction is happening at the same time in 2026. And then this funding source, it's not going to be any of the ones listed here. It's a unique funding source. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and click Other. And this random funding source is the Brady Hill Sidewalk Foundation grant. Okay, new grant. Louisville just got money for it, and it's not included on the list. But if I click Other, I can specify what that funding source is, and this is a federal grant. In this case, and it's for $1 million. So I'll put in $1 million, and then there's no match. So, and 0 for the match. And if there is no match in this case, or if it's fully local and no federal dollars, go ahead and put the 0 in there. Don't leave it blank, because the 0 allows this calculation at the bottom to work properly. So include the 0 if there's nothing there. Okay, and so I've added that phase, and then now I'm done. There's a couple more pages here to include phases if necessary, but I don't need them. And in this case, you don't need to fill anything out. You can just skip. If there is no phase 4, then you can just skip it. You can go next. And there's no phase 5, so I click next. If there's no phase 6, so I can skip this as well. Although at the bottom here, there is an additional phases link. So if there were 7 phases and I only have room for 6 to write in, but there was actually 7, I can drop in a file here of some sort and to show all of the phases needed if necessary. But I don't in this case, so I'll skip it. These acknowledgements help you remember what applications need to fill out as an acknowledgement. So I understand that if this project application requires a cost increase of federal funds from an MPO dedicated funding source, then I will also need to fill out an NPO cost increase application, which can be found here. And that's the link back to the forms page where you can find the MPO dedicated funding application. Or the MPO cost increase application, pardon me. This is the one you would need. And if you remember, in this case, we do have an increase because I increased TA funds on the construction phase. So this is an acknowledgement that after I submit this application, I'm going to have to go fill out that MPO cost increase application as well. If there was a phase shift exception, that would be required. So if a phase is shifting for the 3rd time, and I needed to fill out a phase shift application for a phase shift exception, then that's also just reminding you that that's something you'll need to do. And so I've acknowledged that information. And then I'll put in my email again, because I'm both the contact and the submitter in this case. Louisville.org. And then you'd submit, and that's it. As a note for this submitter email, this one's important because whatever email you put in here will be sent a notification that your project submission has been received. You will also receive a PDF copy of what your submission is, automated. So it usually takes about 10 or 15 minutes after you submit for you to get the email. But for the submitter email, please make sure that is in there if you want that PDF copy and you want a confirmation that your project application is submitted. And that's all I have for the expedited project application. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Brady Hill, or to Chris Nicholas at KIPTA. Thank you.